Mysteries of the Bible. Many books have been written pretending to be something supernatural. I remember a few years ago, some elders came to my home to present their book as the revelation of God for the Americas. Many of you already understood what book I'm talking about. Joseph Smith received a revelation for the Americas, the elder claimed, because the Bible is for the Jewish people. So for America, we had the Book of Mormon, inspired by God. I said, really? Show me one prophecy, only one, written before and its fulfillment, just like the Bible, the day, the month, the year, the places, the names. I'm still waiting more than 30 years later. And I will be waiting forever because the only book on earth written by God is the Bible, the Holy Sacred Bible. The book of Isaiah says, "Who is God like Jehovah God, that foretells the future from the beginning and from times of old things that will happen in the future?" That is God. That is his book. Many skeptics have presented in the history of the Bible many complaints about the authenticity and the authorship of the Bible. Very simple. If you are willing to listen, we have thousands of evidences in the Bible. I want to present one today. And this prophecy has a multiple layers, angles that you can check and double check and match to see with your very eyes if it is true or no. It has to do with empires, kings, emperors, and even wars. I'm going to talk to you about 1917, a year that marks a pivot point in history as far as Bible prophecy is concerned. And I'm going to start by quoting Luke chapter 21. But the end of the chapter, but I want you to read the whole chapter so we don't create a pretext without using the context. Luke 21 is a very detailed breakdown of the Jerusalem and the people of Israel, their future and their past. Who spoke in this chapter? This prophecy was spoke by the very mouth of the Lord himself, the all-knowledgeable God on earth, the Lord Jesus. What do we read? Jerusalem will be trampled by the pagan empires till the fulfillment of the times of the Gentiles. And also says, and the people of God will be in exile until the times of the Gentiles. If you pay attention to the dating of this prophecy, it was spoken near year 30 of the Christian era, about 1995 years ago. very extremely old prophecy. 1,995 years ago was written. Why is that significant? Because back then, by year 30, the Roman Empire was ruling upon the so-called Promised Land, the land that God promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Out of hatred, the Romans gave the land the most despicable name, Palestine. But who were dwelling in Palestine? The Jewish people. The remnant of the Jewish people. So Palestine is not a race, it's not a nation, it's just a despicable adjective, noun, given by the Roman Empire as a token of their rejection to the Jewish people. But we are talking about the same land and the same people, the people of Israel. So there is nothing truthful or reliable about the so-called Palestinians and the Palestinian state or land. It does not exist in history. But let me focus on the evidences that the Bible is what it says it is. The revelation of God Himself. And the author of the book is God Himself. So 1917 is a year that separates the nations of the earth and the history of the empires and the nations of the world, and what God established as the times of the Gentiles. And we have a very interesting date, November 2nd, 1917, when Sir Arthur Balfour signs the declaration that has his last name addressed to Sir Rothschild. What it says? The land called the Promised Land is returned to the Jewish people. So why is that significant? Well, because the Jewish people lost their land in 604 in the hands of the Babylonians. So on November 2nd, 1917, we have a separation. After that, no nation, no pagan nation will ever again rule the Promised Land. That is the prophecy embedded in Luke chapter 21. And this is very crucial, this is very important, because that gives us a very specific timeline of what day, what hour, what time it is today. I'm recording this teaching on October the 30th, 2025. October 30th, 2025. It's 15:24 Eastern Standard Time. And I've been meditating on what season are we living in. And to understand this, we have to be very careful and to avoid any attempt to set up dates for the returning of the Messiah. As much as we cannot set up times, dates, hours, or days for the birth of a child, unless we are talking about a C-section. But in a regular labor delivery of a baby, we just know that in average, the process will take 40 weeks. And we can somehow guesstimate the delivery day, but it will be very random because babies never do exactly 40 weeks. It could be before, it could be afterwards. But somehow we have an idea of when the baby can come based on the 40 weeks period. Likewise, we need to pay attention to the prophecies of the Lord and the timeline that He gave us, so we understand what time it is, what season this is. Because if we don't understand the seasons, we can be doing the wrong thing in the wrong time. Let me give you an example. When you are a farmer and you buy your seed and invest a lot of money in equipment, machinery, work, manpower, products, nutrients for the soil, and seeds, but you don't pick the right time for the sowing of your seed, you can lose all your money, all your resources, and all your hard work. So seasons are crucial. So the question is still again here, what season is this? Luke chapter 21 says that once we see the fulfillment of the times of the Gentiles, we know we are living in the last season, in the last period, in the final season for the harvest of souls. Okay, so when do we start to count? Look what happened on November 2nd, 1917. General Edmund Allenby, a Christian general, British Christian believer, was given the troops of the British Empire that were losing. For 3 years, they were losing the war. They did not, under General Murray, they did not conquer or defeat any important battle against the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire. But when the King of England appointed a new general by the name of Edmund Allenby, things took a different route. By October, he was appointed, and on November 2nd, 1917, very quick, he was able to defeat in the Battle of Beersheba the Ottoman Empire. And we count this exactly on November 2nd, 1917. Afterwards, by December 11, Sir Edmund Allenby is entering the Jaffa Gate with his army, but he commanded his army to walk and not to enter as conquerors in their horses, but to enter as pilgrims in the sacred city of Jerusalem. And these were his words, because the Lord Jesus is the one that is going to come back in his horse, victorious, in glory, in power. So as a way to honor and respect his faith in the Lord Jesus, Sir Edmund Allenby commanded all his army not to enter triumphant after the huge defeat of 4 long 100 years of rulership of the Ottoman Empire in the Middle East. Pay attention to the number. The Turkish Empire ruled the Promised Land for 400 years, since 1517 till the defeat by Edmund Allenby in 1917, November the 2nd, 1917. Is that significant? Totally significant. Because that pivots history into a turning point to the fact that we are living in the last generation. That is the prophecy. After we see the fulfillment of the rulership of the Gentile nations upon Jerusalem, we start the counting. The counting for what? The counting for the lost harvest. And if you look at the history of mankind after 1917, every single prophecy regarding the end times matches perfectly. How about Daniel chapter 12? Daniel chapter 12 says that Daniel received a revelation by the angels sent by God, the angel Gabriel, as he was studying the prophecies of the book of Jeremiah, the scroll of Jeremiah, regarding the 70 years of exile in Babylon. Remember that Daniel lived since the beginning of the exile till the end, and even during the Medo-Persian rulership under Darius the Mede. So we have Daniel very young, by probably the age of 17-year-old. He went in exile and lived the whole 70 years of exile in Babylon. So by the end of the 70 years, he remembered the prophecy of the scroll of Jeremiah, and he was praying about it, and the Lord sent over to Daniel the angel Gabriel to reveal the most amazing prophecy in the Old Testament regarding the Messiah. The 70 weeks prophecy of the book of Daniel. Where do we read that? Daniel chapter 9. Now, what is very important and significant is that in order to understand all of this, we need to have some knowledge of history. We all know about the Great War. In those days, for 3 years, ending in 1917, November the 2nd, 1917, the British Empire fought against the Ottoman Empire. But they lost for almost 3 years, till the British Empire appointed Edmund Allenby, a believer that prayed before every battle, asking the Lord to help him and to fight his enemies and the enemies of Jerusalem and the Jewish people. And God answered his prayers. So we have November 2nd, 1917. What if we add to that date a year of Jubilee? Why a year of Jubilee? Because the year of Jubilee has a very important prophecy. Leviticus 25 talks about every 6 years you shall work the land. When thou enter the land, the Lord spoke to Moses, when my people enter the land, thou will count 6 years. And in the 7th, it will be a year of rest, a sabbatical year. But every 7 sabbatical years, in the 7th month, in the 10th day, you will rest. And you will sound the shofar, and you will proclaim liberty to all the kindreds of the earth. And the people will return to their land, and the land must return to the original owner. 2 things. The land returns to the people, and the people return to their original land. What happened on 1917? The land of Israel, the promised land, was returned to the Jewish people under the Balfour Declaration, November 2nd, 1917. What if we take that cycle of Jubilee in our computer and apply it to the Balfour Declaration date? Meaning November the 2nd, 1917, and we count 49 years, 7 lunar months or biblical months, and 10 days. We will fall on June 7, 67. Did something significant happen on June 7, 67? Oh, yes. The land, the holy city of Jerusalem, was restored to the Jewish people, and the Jewish people were able to enter the holy, sacred, old city of Jerusalem. And they prayed. The army of Moshe Dayan, the Jewish general that defeated the Jordanians, he was able to pray in the Wailing Wall in the old sacred city of Jerusalem.